So the macro is our lightweight, configurable adventure hardtail, and it's a configurable bit, which is a really important part about this bike, and it's what we've worked really hard on. It's the latest in our range, and it brings us to 10 bikes, and actually it's our 10th year, so it's quite fitting that this is our 10th bike. We've noticed riders using a lightweight XC hardtail for the races that are maybe a bit rougher, maybe with more elevation, long distance, where possibly a drop bar gravel bike isn't quite enough. The larger 29-inch wheels and tyres and the option for a suspension fork obviously gives you a lot of comfort, but also helps you maintain momentum on the longer races. The macro is the answer to that problem, where you want lightweight, you want the wheels and tyres and the option for suspension, but you also need properly designed long distance bike packing or adventure bike with all the attachment points that you'll require. The macro is so full of modern tech, custom features and unique components, I thought it'd be worth taking a deep dive into this new bike and the frame set. So following our ride-driven design ethos, everything on this bike and the frame set is only there to enhance the rider experience. Starting with the MASON design UDH dropouts, I'm going to take you around each feature on the macro. And UDH really refers to this universal derailleur hanger which is being adopted. So we work from the ground up to design and machine both the drive side and non-drive side dropouts with our Italian maker. So the beauty of the UDH system is that the universal derailleur hanger works with all current modern mechs. It's easy replaceable, it's not expensive, and it's not specific to either Shimano or SRAM, for example. And of course the new MASON UDH dropouts work with a standard UDH hanger, or they work with a T-type rear mech like this one. And because they're MASON, they have a proper rack mount threaded insert here. The seat stays on the macro are an absolute thing of beauty. We actually got the idea after we developed the steel ones, which we use on the MASON ISO and also on the MASON Raw. And the beauty of these is they taper up perfectly from the dropouts, and then they're very flat and wide at the top where they meet the seat tube. So what that gives you is some good compliance down here, and up to the top here they have a very wide weld area, so it's very stable for pedalling at the top. And the whole thing gives huge clearance for a 2.4 29er tyre. So at the top of the seat stays, where it flattens and widens out, we've got proper rack mounts which are brazed in, not just compression fitted. The macro has a total of 28 load and accessory mounting points on the frame and hot shoe fork. So here are the seat tube, and once again we've developed this with Dedacciai, and you can see at the base there's a curve. The reason for that curve is so you can get a large 29 by 2.4 wheel in. You've still got lots of clearance, but we can make the rear end fairly short. And the seat tubes for a 31.6 seat post, so either our MASON carbon post or any dropper post. So at the base of the curved seat tube is our own MASON design BB shell. It's large, 56 diameter. We call it through BB. The reason for that is because it allows enough space around the axle of the bottom bracket to put your hoses out to the brake and to the gear system if you need it. So you can see here with our sample frame that not only does the through BB give you access for hoses to pass through the BB and out to the chainstays, it also gives you a huge weld area for this big ovalised down tube. So finally, MASON BBs are always threaded for BSA threaded bottom brackets. The reason for that is that it's the best way for that loading. So anything that's an oscillating circular motion, like pedalling, really needs a thread. So we just don't do press fit. So working back from our through BB back to the chainstays now, although they look quite simple, they're one of the hardest things to get right. And the reason for that is because there's always a compromise between the chain ring clearance here and the tyre, wheel and tyre clearance here. So we work really hard with Dedacciai to get these chainstays, the shape of the chainstays right. The deep section is giving you a stiff chainstay for pedalling, so it's good power transference. And then where they sweep up, the reason for that is because it will give you a lot of chain clearance to avoid chain slap with very small modern rear cog sizes. It's also really important we have proper clearance on this side of the chainstay for a 32-34 tooth 1 bar chainring. So here you see the final chainstays on our final sample frame, And I worked with Marco directly in the Dedacciai factory for a day, bending and rebending, fitting tyre and chainring until we got to this final shape. So at the end of the chainstay curve, we get to our MASON dropouts and brake mount. So not only did we entirely develop these dropouts from scratch for MASON, we also had to develop the way we were going to mount the brake. So you can see on this one, it's fully machined in up to the post mount, and then this lower post mount is welded into the chainstay. So we went through all different iterations of the way to do this until we ended up with the perfect way. So now working our way forward to the front end of the bike, we get to the top tube. Once again, we've worked with Dedacciai to make our own tube here. So we started with the front end, basically using their Dedacciai 29er race tubing, and then we modified it from there. So you can see that the top tube is very wide and flat. So the flatness gives it a little bit more compliance for the frame, and then the wideness gives it not only comfort if you're having to carry it on your shoulder, but it's a great stable place for mounting your bag at the front here. So as we come towards the front end, past the top tube mounts here, you can see that the wide top tube gives a huge weld area for our 56mm diameter head tube. Alongside a huge amount of real-world rider testing.
Good morning from Morocco. This is the first morning of the Atlas Mountain Race. Sit right on the back of the saddle and just float through the ruts.
We also like all our frames to pass mechanical fatigue testing in the lab. So you can see that with this frame, the huge weld area that we achieve with the large diameter head tube, plus the large diameter down tube and gusset, help us to achieve the lightweight and strength that we need for this type of frame. So this style of head tube, not only does it allow us to fit the large durable bearings that we wanted to use, it's also got quite a generous wall thickness. This allowed us to use the lightweight tubing we wanted and to also make it very, very tough. It also allows you to internally port it to route some of the hoses and cables integrally through the frame if that's what you want to do. So I've mocked an integrated routing setup up here, so you can see how really clean it is with 3 hoses. And the main reason for this is that it's completely out of the way of any bags or racks that you've got mounted on the front of the bike. You've got the 2 hoses running through under the stem here, and then of course you've got your front brake hose that would either run down through our HotShoe2 fork or to a suspension fork. The ride-driven design means that everything that we do is for the rider and for riding. We don't do anything for aesthetic reasons or for fashion. The macro frame also allows you to route it internally, which is much more conventional. So you can see with this frame here, we've still got the MASON multi-ports. We've routed all the hoses down through the frame. This down tube is very lightweight, it's thin wall, and the large diameter of it means we can maintain the strength. As we work down from the head tube, you can see that we start with a round profile, and then as it nears a BB, I don't know if you can see it that easily, but it flattens and ovalizes. So by the time it gets down here, it's very wide, and we've got this huge weld area and a very stable pedalling platform. Macro geometry is designed to run with a 100mm suspension fork, or you can run it fully rigid using our HotShoe2 carbon fork. So as with all MASON frame sets, we don't like to make the compromise of using an aftermarket fork. We always tool up for our own forks, and it's no different with the macro. So this is the HotShoe2 fork. It's called HotShoe2 because we've updated and modified almost every aspect of this fork. We've optimized where we put the eyelets, we've strengthened all the mounting points, and we've just refined the ride quality and the feel and the layup of the fork. One of the unique features of the HotShoe2 fork is our MASON tri-mount, and it's a perfect interface for our condenser rack and also for our shutter load-bearing fender. It's completely unique to MASON. We designed it from the ground up. It works with most of the straps that you can get, like a Volet strap, but also, of course, it's a mudguard as well. So the very wide front section stops dirt and moisture getting thrown directly into your face. And the back section, you can see it's got this lip So the lip, once again, stops dirt and moisture getting thrown into the rear of the headset bearing, which makes your headset last longer. The new MASON macro is available to order and configure on our website. There are 4 sizes and 2 new colours, one which is the new Grigio Techno colour you see here, and then there's the launch edition colour which is a bronze metallic, which we call tilt shift. With the new macro, the key word is configurable. So this includes many options for group sets, different bike builds. You can buy the frame with the rigid fork, you can buy the frame with the suspension fork, and you can configure various group sets directly on our website.